I have been simplifying my life for years, but that doesn't mean I always got it right. I have made quite a few mistakes, some small, some bigger, some when I just got started, and some, well, this week. Some of the things I thought would make my life so much simpler ended up doing the exact opposite. If you are on a journey to live more intentionally too, I hope you can learn from what didn't work for me so you can avoid the same pitfalls. Here are 10 things I got wrong. Expecting decluttering to fix pretty much everything. When I first started simplifying, I had this idea that less stuff always meant less stress. If I just decluttered enough, life would magically feel peaceful and easy. But in reality, it is not that simple. For example, when I was sharing an apartment, keeping my belongings to a minimum didn't fix the fact that my roommates kept arguing all the time, and that kind of ruined the whole environment and atmosphere for all of us. You can have an empty closet, a spotless living room, and still feel overwhelmed because your schedule is too full, maybe your finances are stressing you out, or you are just mentally exhausted. And that doesn't mean that decluttering is not valuable, it absolutely is. Letting go of excess does make life easier in many ways, but long-term simplicity comes from so much more. The second mistake is replacing one type of busyness with another. I thought slowing down meant I would finally have more peace, more freedom, and more time to just be. But instead, I found myself just as busy as before, but just in a different way. At first, I spent a lot of time planning how to slow down and how to simplify my life. I researched all these morning routines and read about mindfulness and watched videos on how to do this the kind of right way. But after a while, I realized I was spending more time thinking about how to do all this than actually doing it. And when I finally stopped this research and started filling my days with these self-care and simplifying activities, I still wasn't really simplifying anything or slowing down. Instead of rushing to finish work or finish something else, I was rushing to check off all my new calming habits. I guess this came from the pressure to do all this the right way, so kind of perfectionism, we could say. If I wasn't journaling enough, meditating daily, or decluttering every month, I felt like I wasn't truly living a simpler life. The third mistake is decluttering too quickly. In my journey, I have definitely decluttered things too fast, especially these backup items, assuming I would never need them, only to regret it days later. Like the time I bought a hoodie, I think it was last year, I was following the one in, one out rule, which you probably know, so I immediately got rid of one old hoodie that I had. But after the first wash, the new hoodie shrank. Maybe I used the wrong temperature, like I still don't know what was the issue. Either way, I suddenly wished I had kept the old one for at least a little while, but since I had decluttered that, now I didn't have any hoodies that fitted me. And then there are things like sunglasses and earphones. I lose and break them all the time. Just 2 days ago, I washed my brand new earphones by accident in the washing machine. And of course, I had decluttered my old ones just last weekend. They were not in great shape. The old ones, I had kept them for almost like 10 years, but they still worked and they were definitely better than nothing. So now I just really hope that the new ones will work after using the good old rice technique. So I used to think minimalism meant keeping only what I used daily. If something was slightly broken or not my favorite, I got rid of it quite quickly with not a lot of attachment. But that mindset made things harder than they needed to be. So now I want to be more practical to avoid all that stress and headache, which is the point of all this. If something still works, even if it's not perfect, I maybe should keep it as a backup for a little while. Maybe give myself time, like a few weeks or months, and then if I haven't used that, if I have completely forgotten about that, then I can let it go. Number 4, overworking for freedom. I used to think that if I just worked hard enough now, I could create this super simple life where I wouldn't have to work as much in the future, which doesn't really make sense when you think about it. It's kind of the same as when there are people working crazy hours to retire early to have more time with their family one day, only to regret spending so much time working away from their family in the first place. The problem with that is that the later rarely actually comes. The finish line just keeps moving forward all the time, because the reality is that there's always something more to do. Now, I'm not saying working hard is bad. There are times when it makes sense, even in the terms of simplifying life. Like if you have a seasonal job, maybe you have some big opportunity in your life right now, or times when a little extra effort will pay off big time in the long run. That is different. But if you are constantly waiting for the right moment to slow down or simplify your life, it's probably never going to feel like the right time. That's why for me, living frugally and saving money has been a much better approach. Instead of burning myself out right now to have a happier life one day, which is so ironic, kind of paradoxical, I focus on needing less right now so I can actually be happy and simplify and slow down my life already now and not grind for any future reward. Number 5, getting caught up in comparison. Seeing pictures of minimalist homes, nomad lifestyle, or people who just seem to have it all figured out made me feel like I wasn't doing enough. I started asking myself, should I be decluttering more? Should I be living somewhere quieter, owning even less? And honestly, I still do this sometimes. And now I don't know if it's always like a bad thing or just inspiration, because some of it really does motivate me. It gives me ideas. But other times it just makes me feel like I should be already living that way. What has helped me is reminding myself that simplicity looks different for everyone. Everyone starts from a different place, and some people have different financial situations, different life priorities, or have been on this journey way longer. Maybe they have more knowledge about life and more skills. It's not about following someone else's version of a minimalist life. It's about figuring out what actually works for me. If you have ever felt unsure about your own version of simplicity or simple life, or where you want to go with all this, I have put together something that might help you with this. I have a 5-day clear the noise challenge. It's completely free and designed to help you stop the mental clutter and overthinking about how to simplify your own life. There are exercises that have helped me personally, and I hope that they can help you too. You can sign up through the link in the description, and I will send you the first exercise straight to your inbox. The 6th mistake was underestimating the role of money. This is kind of the opposite of the mistake I talked about earlier, so working too much in the name of freedom. This one is about thinking money doesn't really matter in your simple living journey. After all, this isn't a money-centered lifestyle. But simplicity alone doesn't erase financial responsibilities. Bills still exist. Unexpected expenses still happen. And honestly, it's a lot more stressful when you don't have a stable income or any savings. Being careful and being intentional with money has always come very naturally to me. I don't spend much, and I enjoy finding ways to live well with less. But I have realized that if I have to constantly worry about money, it's not fun anymore. There's a big difference between choosing to live simply and feeling like you have to because there is no other option. I really started noticing this when I went full-time with YouTube. Suddenly I didn't have a predictable income anymore, and even though I had savings, I had planned all this, I became way more aware of how unstable things could feel, and I became way more self-conscious with everything. It made me realize that a simple life isn't just about owning less. It's also about having financial security, so you don't have to constantly worry about everything. Mistake number 7, believing simple living means moving away. For a long time, I romanticized the idea of escaping to the countryside. I think many of us do. A small town, a remote cabin, somewhere quiet and peaceful. I thought that if I just moved away from the noise and distractions, life would instantly feel simpler. And in a way, it makes sense. The city is busy. There is traffic, people everywhere, constant stimulation. Moving somewhere quieter feels like the perfect solution. But over time, I started realizing that it is not that black and white. The idea of moving to the countryside, moving to a cabin, has actually become more relevant to me in the past couple of years. But the more I look into it, the more I see how much work it actually takes. In a lot of ways, living in the city is actually less stressful. There are fewer things to worry about and take care of. If you live in the countryside and have your own house, you often need a car, you need to maintain the property and the house, you need money saved up for any unexpected repairs, and you might end up further away from family and friends as well. The living environment might be quieter, but it also comes with responsibilities that aren't always so simple. Now I have realized that simplicity isn't always about where you live, but how you live. A chaotic lifestyle can follow you wherever you go if you don't change your habits and your approach to life. But still, this is something that I would totally love to try one day. Now I just know that I want to be in a little bit more stable position in life, especially with finances, when I will actually do something like this, so that it will help me to move toward a life that I want and not just create more stress. Number 8, ignoring lessons from people with different values. I used to not really care about advice I got from other people who were not on the same path as me, because I thought that I knew better. I thought that if they weren't living the way I wanted to live, what could they possibly teach me? But over time, I realized how limiting that mindset was. If my perspective was already perfect, I would never need to change or grow, and obviously that is not the case. Just because someone isn't focused on a simple life or even successful by any traditional metric, that doesn't mean that they don't have useful insights. The problem with only listening to people who think like you is that it creates this echo chamber. It feels very comfortable and you are doing everything right in life, but it doesn't give you any real understanding of life outside your own experience. I started noticing this when I came across advice from people I wouldn't normally follow. People with different lifestyles, people with different priorities, and even completely different values, like athletes, business people, maximalists, politicians, authors, people from minorities, and so many others. This is why I've been really into biographies recently on the short form app, which has great book summaries that make it easy to learn from different perspectives. It has helped me to take in ideas I wouldn't normally seek out without having to read every book cover to cover. I will leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. And instead of immediately rejecting those perspectives, I started asking myself, can I take something from this and apply it in my own way? And more often than not, the answer was yes. And sometimes those lessons can be surprisingly powerful and eye-opening. Ideas I never would have considered can end up shifting the way I think about things. 9. Having crazy high expectations for this lifestyle. When I first started simplifying, I thought that once I had simplified enough, I would always feel calm, balanced, and in control, like life would just feel light and peaceful all the time. But a simpler life isn't a perfect life. Slowing down and simplifying doesn't mean you will get rid of all that stress and sadness and challenges. I still struggle sometimes with anxiety and overthinking, overstimulation, frustration and anger, and all these things just like anyone else. I know that when you watch my videos, it might seem that I'm always peaceful and have it always together, but that's because, like most people, I don't film the hard moments that I'm having in my life. If I did, my videos would probably get more views because strong emotions and struggles make for great stories, and I love watching other people's videos on YouTube that want to film and post that type of videos, but personally I just don't feel comfortable sharing those parts of my own life online, at least for the most part. Like, I can talk about these mistakes, but I'm not the one who grabs the camera when I'm having a bad moment or a bad day. So now I have accepted that these feelings are just part of life, no matter who you are or where you live, what is your lifestyle. A simple life can make things easier, often does, but it doesn't make you immune to challenges or hardships in life. Number 10, holding myself to unrealistic standards. At some point I realized I had all these rules and judging voices in my head. Never do this, never do that, never do anything that isn't fully aligned with your values. And if I ever slipped up, even by accident, I saw it as a failure. If I bought something unnecessary, felt too busy or got stressed, it felt like I was going against everything I was trying to build and share here on this channel. And instead of just moving on, I would beat myself up over it. And I still struggle with this sometimes. My standards are very high for myself, and in a lot of ways that is a good thing, but I try to now stay mindful of not making them unrealistic. I don't want to see myself as someone who needs to get everything right all the time, because that just creates a lot of pressure for myself. I want to see myself as a human, not some sort of superhuman. Because in the end, simplicity and simple living is about making life easier, not harder. And I think that that includes being kind to yourself too. Remember to check the resources in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to stay kind and meaningful in your own beautiful journey. See you in the next one.